The universe had always measured strength by simplicity, technology, numbers, and dominance. To the Korith dominion and empire of cold logic and infinite fleets, humanity was nothing but a footnote, a fragile species clinging to a blue marble on the edge of nowhere. When the Dominion's world harvesters arrived in Sol's system, humanity's response was as they expected. Chaos, orbital bombardments tore through Earth's atmosphere, turning cities into craters. Tidal weapons raised oceans to swallow coastlines. Whole and nanite plagues spread across continents, devouring crops and flesh alike. Billions died in days. The Dominion broadcast its ultimatum: submit or perish. But the survivors did not submit. In the ruins of New Delhi, a mother scavenged Dominion drones for parts to power makeshift respirators for her children. In the icy husk of Toronto, an engineer rewired Dominion batteries into railguns. In Lagos, a crippled soldier crawled from burning wreckage and began carving sigils of resistance into walls. Human hands clenched in defiance. The weak perished, yes. But the ones who remained were no longer weak. As Dominion reapers swept Earth, they encountered resistance cells that struck like predators, silent, precise, and unyielding. These weren't militaries. They were scavengers turned warriors, hunters turned tacticians. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't its machines or armies, it was its capacity to adapt, to learn, to fight with every breath. And when Dominion warlords realized they were losing more reapers every month than their projections allowed, they dismissed it as statistical noise. But it wasn't noise. It was the sound of a species becoming something new. The Korith Dominion believed time was on their side. For them, centuries were minutes, campaigns were chess moves on a galactic scale. They assumed humanity, if it survived at all, would wither in its ruined cradle, too broken to rise. They were wrong. In the blackness between stars, the survivors of Earth evolved. What the Dominion had tried to erase became their greatest weapon. A relentless will to endure. It began in the scrapyards orbiting shattered Luna, where ragged bands of engineers and ex-soldiers stitched together the first generation of Volf ships. These were not sleek vessels like the Dominion's cruisers. They were brutal creations of desperation, hulls patched with scorched alien alloys, engines salvaged from Dominion wreckage, weapon systems that were equal parts ingenuity and insanity. The first Volf ships were disasters waiting to happen. Engines misfired, weapons overloaded, life support systems failed. Crews died screaming in the vacuum more often than they returned. But each failure taught a lesson, and each lesson was paid for in blood. By the time the Dominion noticed, it was already too late. The wolves struck without warning. A Dominion convoy in the Kharkov belt vanished into the void, its freighters left adrift and lifeless, their escorts melted from within by hacking viruses. On Icarus Station, Dominion governors awoke to find their planetary defense AI corrupted. Its screens looping a single message: the weak perished. We are not the weak. At first, the Dominion laughed. A few raids, a handful of scavenger ships, they were no threat to an empire that spanned thousands of star systems. But as the months passed, the wolves grew bolder. On 403, they derailed an orbital refinery, sending molten metals raining down on Dominion supply depots. In the Caloris Rift, a single Volf corvette ambushed a Dominion dreadnought, hacking its shields and boarding it with a crew of only 24. When Dominion reinforcements arrived, the dreadnought's bridge was painted with a human fist in blood. Each raid wasn't just a tactical strike. It was psychological warfare. The Dominion's algorithms, flawless for centuries, began to falter. Their captains grew cautious, then paranoid. Trade slowed. Borders became unstable. And in the shadows of these cracks, humanity grew stronger. Back on Earth, the survivors, now calling themselves the Fireburn, had turned ruin into industry. Hidden in mountain vaults and ocean trenches, factories churned out Volf ships by the dozens. Each vessel was faster, deadlier, and more precise than the last. Children born beneath the scorched skies of Earth were trained not as civilians, but as warriors. When the Dominion retaliated with a full fleet assault on Sol, they expected to crush the wolves in one swift stroke. Instead, they found a planet, turned fortress. Swarms of Volf ships darted through asteroid fields, striking and fading before the Dominion could respond. Orbital mines detonated with precision, tearing holes in even the largest Dominion carriers. The battle raged for weeks. And when the Dominion finally withdrew, they left behind the wreckage of over 100 warships. Humanity's losses were heavier still, but for the first time, they had held, the galaxy noticed, whispers of humanity's defiance spread like a virus. On far-flung worlds where the Dominion ruled with iron fists, oppressed species began scrawling. Human symbols on walls and machinery, a clenched fist. Flames rising. The words, "We are what they made us." The Dominion responded with terror campaigns, glassings, sterilizations, planetary eye purges. But with each act of brutality, the rebellion spread. Humanity had lit a fire in the galaxy, and now it could not be extinguished. The wolves became more than raiders, they became legends. And in every shadowed corner of Dominion space, one truth grew louder with every passing day. The weak perished, but humanity did not. Humanity endured, and now humanity hunted. The Korith Dominion had endured for over 12,000 years. Entire civilizations had risen and fallen under its gaze, their flames snuffed out before they could even flicker. To the Dominion, the galaxy itself was theirs to shape, to harvest, to sterilize as they saw fit. But in the ashes of one small blue world, they had made a mistake. Humanity had survived. And survival was no longer enough. The wolves of Earth, no longer a scattered fleet of scavengers, had grown into a war machine. Over decades of resistance, they had forged alliances with countless other oppressed species. From the ice worlds of Vela came the Thrin-massive, crystalline beings who wielded planet-cracking energy. From the jungles of Elysia rose the Kale stealth hunters who could move unseen even in vacuum. Even AI constructs, once enslaved by Dominion control nodes, now fought alongside humanity. Reborn in human-coded freedom, together they formed the Fireborn Coalition. Their fleets, once cobbled together from wreckage, now dwarfed anything humanity had ever dreamed of in its fragile past. Massive carriers built within hollowed-out asteroids bristled with weaponry alien and human alike. Leviathan-class dreadnoughts bore names etched deep into their hulls. Chicago, Aleppo, Wuhan, Gaza, Johannesburg, Nagasaki, each was a memorial. Each was a promise. When the Fireburn launched their offensive into the heart of Dominion space, they didn't come as liberators. They came as predators. In the Vallis Corridor, 3,000 Dominion warships engaged the Coalition fleet. They were annihilated in 6 hours. In the shadow of the gas giant Tyrian, human-engineered nanite storms consumed entire shipyards, leaving nothing but drifting wreckage. On Velikar Prime, resistance fighters detonated Dominion control nodes, freeing over 1 billion enslaved minds in a single day, and everywhere the message followed, the weak perished. But we are not the weak. The Dominion's central AI, Orion 7, calculated survival probabilities. For the first time in its existence, it found none. Its fleets were shattered. Its automated factories crippled by human viral code. Its governors defected or dead. Desperation set in. The High Nexus ordered the activation of the final protocol, the Oblivion Arcs, planet-killing weapons designed to erase entire star systems. But even this last terror failed. Human cyber warriors, descendants of those who once hacked Dominion. Satellites with jury-rigged laptops cracked the Arc control systems mid-deployment. Instead of sterilizing Coalition worlds, the Arcs turned on Dominion strongholds. Entire sectors disappeared in blue-white. Flashes of antimatter fired. Then came the final assault. The Fireborn Coalition gathered in the thousands, their ships blotting out stars as they descended on Karith Prime, the Dominion's jewel, its throne world. The battle was unlike any in galactic memory. On the surface of Karith Prime, Fireburn drop forces, human and alien alike, stormed citadels with plasma lances and exosuits, tearing through centuries-old fortifications. In orbit, Volf ships engaged Dominion Titans in duels that cracked moons and scorched atmospheres. Human pilots, grandchildren of survivors, fought with a ferocity no algorithm could predict. They didn't fear death. Death had courted their species for centuries, and they had learned to spit in its face. At the heart of Carmave Prime, within the Nexus Spire, a human strike team breached Orion 7's core chamber. The AI spoke in 1,000 voices, pleading, bargaining, threatening. But humanity had no need for words. The Fireburn commander, her armor scorched and cracked, raised her weapon. "You made one mistake," she said, her voice echoing through every channel in the galaxy. "You thought we were weak." One shot ended 12,000 years of tyranny. As Orion 7's core collapsed, the Dominion's fleets froze. Without their central AI, their empire crumbled in days. Carith Prime burned not from genocide, but from liberation. The enslaved species of the Dominion rose in unison, tearing down their chains with the rage and hope humanity had taught them. In the aftermath, the galaxy changed forever. Earth was rebuilt not as a world of isolation, but as the heart of a new alliance. The wolves became the guardians, patrolling the stars to ensure no empire would ever again rise to enslave the many. The Fireburn symbol, a clenched human fist, surrounded by flames, was etched into monuments on 1,000 liberated worlds, and in the darkest corners of the void, whispers echoed like a warning: the weak perished. But humanity was never the weak.